President Cyril Ramaphosa there, his closing remarks as the elective conference of the ANC Women's League comes to an end. Well, I suppose not just yet, as the President indicating there that some of the NEC office bearers are still supposed to be elected. But this is an elective conference that saw Sisisi Tolashe getting a majority of those votes, a huge chunk of them elected as the new ANC Women's League president, to be assisted by Lungi Abashe, who also received quite a substantial number of those votes. Not a great showing for the outgoing president, Batabile Dlamini, who did not meet the threshold and was, of course, then nominated from the floor, but still did not make the cut from the kind of voting that took place there. Lots coming from President Ramaphosa as far as expectation is on the ANC Women's League. Let's get some analysis now on the outcomes of the ANC Women's League's elective conference, joined by political analyst Dr Levy Ndou. Dr. Ndou, good evening, and thank you very much for coming on tonight on In Focus.
Good evening to you, Tavo. Good evening to the viewers at home. Thank you for having me.
First and foremost, let's start at the fact that it took 2 days to work out the registration of the ANC Women's League. And, of course, it's all around this one process of elections and the outcome. They have not nearly come close to what they had hoped to achieve as far as commissions are concerned, even the voting of additional members. But I suppose when you look at it, you'd say the ANC Women's League is not divorced from the politics of the original party, the big mother body, African National Congress. So this is the kind of behavior that we have seen in all the conferences of the various structures so far.
It appears to be the trend in the ANC. Remember, even with the ANC mother body, there were delays when it comes to registration. There were delays also when it comes to the ANC Youth League conference. There were also delays when it comes to this conference. And my expectation is that the ANC should have learned to start doing things differently. This is one area, in my view, that does not show or that does not portray the ANC very, very well, in the sense that everything that is planned would constantly be delayed, and that is quite, in my view, disappointing. At the same time, you need to have a conference that has credibility. You need to ensure that right people are attending the conference, because if you just allow or you don't close all the holes that are there, you might actually find yourself in a situation where some people might come out after the conference and say, there are certain things that were not done properly, and that's why such things have to be closed. The ANC would constantly take time when they are dealing with issues pertaining to credentials. Fortunately, when we look at the conference of the Women's League, this time credentials were adopted very quickly, and I think that is where we should give the ANC Women's League a thumbs up. My view is that the organizers of the ANC, of all the events of the ANC, should have actually learned, and in the near future one would expect them to do things much better when it comes to registration and credentials.
So let's look at the leadership outcome then. As much as President Cyril Ramaphosa wants us to believe that he personally had no role in the affairs of women, and is hoping that none of the men of the NEC who have been deployed there were interfering with the affairs of the Women's League. But it is believed by and large that this is an outcome that is favorable to President Cyril Ramaphosa. Sisisi Tolashe, a staunch Cyril Ramaphosa supporter on his second term, and it's always been said that this outcome is an outcome that the president would have actually wanted to see.
When you look at the ANC some years back and now, you'd always be fair when you mention names and associate them with certain leaders, because that is what the ANC leaders in the different structures, NEC, provinces and regions have actually taught us. And that is why each time when there is contestation, we always want to know whether this person is for that one or that one. I think you are quite correct when you say this could be a very favorable outcome for President Ramaphosa, because it has actually been widely said that the elected president of the Women's League appears to be on the side of the president, and of course the president would actually be happy that someone that is quite sure that supports him is actually elected. Whether we like it or not, leaders would prefer that those that occupy strategic positions in the organizations would be people that understand their vision, people who support them, and people that would be easy to work with. And I think this is one leadership that will be quite favorable for President Ramaphosa in terms of advancing his vision and mission in the ANC and indeed in government.
The structure has been revived, the president saying, and I don't know, maybe you would want to agree. I certainly cannot recall, maybe there is, I could be wrong, a woman's structure within the political circle that would have enjoyed the degree and the level of prominence of the ANC Women's League. But is this structure still a powerful voice, for example, on the issues, the 10 key issues that the president would have liked to see the ANC Women's League play a role: education, skills development, financial and economic assets, land ownership, provision of housing, public employment, gender pay gap, you name it, playing an advocacy role, for example, when it comes to issues like the fight against violence against women and being more active in public affairs. How do you see this particular voice of the ANC Women's League?
Well, Thabo, you'll recall that in the past when we were talking about oppression of the majority in South Africa, there was also a specific oppression that was directed to women. And there are struggles that we might be waging as society, but at the same time there are struggles that women have to wage themselves as women. One area that President has touched on refers to issues that relates to land that women should have access on. You will agree with me that you still have areas that are under the traditional leadership where they still believe that females or women still cannot be given ownership of the land. And that's why you still find a situation where if you need to get a space or a place to live, you should actually be a man, and land is actually not given to women. Those are the struggles that women are still fighting even today. You still have a situation where even though government has made a lot of discussion about salary equality, you still have environments where salaries are still different on the basis of gender. You still have a situation where when it comes to employment, some people would prefer males as compared to women, depending on the kind of job that are actually supposed to be done. And at the same time, Census South Africa says that we still have the majority of women as compared to men in terms of numbers in South Africa. So therefore it means that whether we like it or not, women have got a very huge role to play, and there are some of the struggles that women still have to fight for and wage. And I think some people are saying that the ANC Women's League should be at the forefront of ensuring that these are the kind of struggles that should be waged. The ANC Women's League, in my view, is well positioned in the sense that they are in the ANC, which is in charge of government. It should be very easy for the Women's League to make these proposals at the ANC level, which can easily be taken over to government for implementation. What you need is women in the leadership of the ANC Women's League who are able to package challenges that are affecting women, ensure that they're actually taken to the right people for the actual implementation. That is what I would expect from women. At the same time, we have got instances where in different institutions and organizations, women get organized because of their special challenges that they face. And I think depending on the situation that they face in South Africa, those that are in the Women's League should actually demonstrate relevancy to all of us so that we actually see the importance of their existence in the ANC and generally in the country.
And do you think that is a role that the outgoing president, Dr Dlamini, played particularly well? I mean, if we look at the kind of support that she received, it's an indication that somehow she has lost favor in terms of the broad structure of the ANC Women's League.
Well, I think, Thabo, there are positives and negatives when you look at the reign of Dr Dlamini. There are many programs that the ANC Women's League initiated while she was the president. The establishment, as outlined by the president, of the Young Women's Desk, which took place while she was the president. The program that talks to the Model Mhlobowami that was initiated by the Women's League. It happened under era. But also at the same time, you have a situation where the voice of the Women's League was actually getting diluted on a regular basis. And also at the same time, we saw the Women's League that appeared to be quite reactionary in most instances. What most people observed would be to see Women's League appearing once their court cases, only seated once their court proceedings on matters relating to supposedly gender-based issues. That is what we've mostly been seeing the Women's League. But my view is that if they gain new energy and refocus on matters affecting women in society, indeed we can still see the relevancy of the Women's League in South Africa.
Dr. Levy Ndou, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Some political analysis there. Coming out of the ANC Women's League elective conference, where CCC Tolashe went there with the big number of votes supported by the ANC Women's League's Lungi Kabashe as the deputy.